Hello and welcome to our advanced core workout. This workout's about 8.5 minutes. Please make sure you've read our disclaimer of liability, you are nice and warm before exercising, and that you are working well within your limitations. Okay, so here we go. We're going to roll up into a dish, raise our feet off the floor. We're going to do single leg pulls. Pull that knee in towards the forehead. Each time you want to make sure we're engaging our breath. So we exhale as the knee comes in. Breathe in, exhale. Make sure you're squeezing with every pull. Nice and smooth, sustained movements. No rushing. Make sure as you extend that leg, you're reaching it as far away as possible. Good. Nice straight legs as you extend. Make sure you're not holding the breath throughout this exercise. Now, if there is any tension in your lower back, to alleviate this, just slightly lift your extending leg. Don't let it go as low to the floor. Now we're going to transition into leg raises. If you feel any tension in your lower back, just don't let the legs lower as far. Keep the range of movement slightly smaller. As soon as you feel like the movement is not being controlled by your core and it translates into your lower back, you're taking the legs too low. So we want to make sure in any core exercise that it is actually our core controlling the movement. Really focus on the technique for every exercise you're doing. Belly button to spine, ribs flat, fully trying to engage that transverse abdominis. And we're maintaining that neutral spine alignment. Nice, slow, continual movements. No rush, no use of gravity. A continual equal speed of movement. Remember to keep breathing and make sure you're working within your limitations. Be honest and really focus on good technique. Okay, we're going to transition now into our next exercise. We're going to do a double bent knee. We're going to peel our back off of the floor into a dish position. Fingertips pulling towards that far wall. Palms facing the ceiling, legs extending away from us, toes reaching towards that far wall, legs parallel, knees and feet together. We're going to pull those knees in towards our chest and then straighten the legs away with full extension to the far wall. If we want to make this a little more difficult, we can include the arms in the movement. So the hands and the arms reach away as the legs extend, hands circle round, hands reach towards the feet. We want to feel like we're scrunching up into a ball as we bring those knees in, really exhaling, connecting the breath to the movement. We want to make sure we're breathing in as we extend and then exhaling as we draw the knees in, trying to pull ourselves as small as possible. We're going to transition into our next exercise. This is window wipers. So legs go to a 90-degree angle. The legs are going to move side to side, staying parallel with the knees and feet glued together. We want to keep them on that 90-degree plane. The hip will lift off the floor each side, but just maintain your control. Ideally, we want to get those legs as low as possible. Make sure you're nice and controlled with the movement. Same rules apply. We want to make sure that there's no gravity or momentum within the movement. It's a slow, sustained pace. Your core is the engine that motivates the movement. Just focus on your technique here. Pulling that belly button in towards the spine, really keeping those ribs nice and flat. Really focus on engaging that transverse abdominis, really pulling that belly button in the whole time as much as you can. Flip over to your front. We're going to start a plank sequence. Make sure you've got a straight line from the heels of the feet out through the top of the head. Neutral spine alignment, head looking straight forward. Thinking of tilting that pelvis slightly forward. Belly button pulled in towards the spine and ribs nice and flat. Make sure you continue to breathe. We're going to transition into our next exercise. Here we have hip rocks. Hips circle side to side with hip just touching the floor each side. Nice and slow controlled movement. Nice straight line through the body with your head in alignment. We want to make sure that our belly button is continually pulling in towards our spine. Our ribs are nice and flat, our pelvis slightly tilted forward. Okay, we're going to transition into another plank modification. This time we are going to do leg kicks. The leg is nice and controlled. There is no momentum in the leg. We are lifting and moving the leg through muscles, not through momentum. Maintain that basic technique and make sure there's minimal movement throughout the core. As we're getting on in the exercises and things are starting to get harder, we really have to demand that we maintain that good technique. Good, nice controlled movements. We're getting on now. Let's make sure we're continuing to breathe. We want to flip over now to a side plank. You've got side crunches. With the side crunches, your body stays in a straight line. Your hips are moving in that same plane as high as you can and then low so the hip just slightly touches the floor and then you lift off again. Make it a smooth, controlled movement, no jerks, a continual movement throughout this. We're moving on to the other side now. Switch arms, flip over, and we're going back to another side plank. With the side crunches, your hips are moving in that same plane as high as you can and then low so the hip just slightly touches the floor and then you lift off again. Same rules apply. Just think about that straight line through the body, head in alignment. Think about that belly button pulling in towards the spine, ribs nice and flat. Continuing to breathe. Nice, controlled, regulated breathing. Don't hold that breath at all. Really engaging that transverse abdominis. We're moving on to the other side now. Switch arms, flip over. Now we've got a single leg side plank. Neutral spine alignment, head looking straight forward. Thinking of tilting that pelvis slightly forward. Belly button pulled in towards the spine and ribs nice and flat. Make sure you continue to breathe. Legs slightly wider than hip width apart. You want to feel like the top leg is extending out through the heel and the top arm is reaching up towards the ceiling. Continual feeling of lengthening. Switch arms, flip over, a single leg side plank. Thinking of tilting that pelvis slightly forward, belly button pulled in towards the spine and ribs nice and flat. Make sure you continue to breathe. Legs slightly wider than hip width apart. The top leg is extending out through the heel and the top arm is reaching up towards the ceiling. Think about that straight line through the body, head in alignment. Think about that belly button pulling in towards the spine, ribs nice and flat. Continuing to breathe. We're going to transition now into reverse plank leg raises. Same rules apply. Think about that alignment, straight line from the feet out through the top of the head. Think about lifting those hips, tilting the pelvis slightly forward, belly button pulled in towards the spine, ribs nice and flat. As this gets harder, your hips are going to want to drop. You just want to think about continually driving the hips up towards the ceiling. Head in alignment. Keep looking up towards that ceiling. Make sure the legs remain parallel. Make sure there's no momentum. We're not kicking that leg forward. We are lifting that leg and lowering that leg. There's absolutely no momentum in that movement. Okay, as this drives on, we want to make sure that we're just continually lifting those hips. As this progresses, the hips are going to want to drop. Let's really focus on lifting those hips. Okay, we're going to move on to our final progression. This is a reverse plank with the leg lift and then opening out to the side. Or for you dancers out there, lift the leg out to second, lift it back forward and then lower down. Nice and controlled movement the whole way through this. Nothing rushed. Everything nice and smooth. Okay, we're so nearly there. Just focus on that technique. Neutral spine alignment. Keep that head in alignment, looking straight up towards the ceiling. Tilt that pelvis forward, making sure those hips don't drop. We're so nearly there. Keep breathing. Don't hold that breath. Well done. 8 minutes plus change. That was your core workout. Well done. If you still got anything left in the tank, why not go for round 2? Until next time, take care. Have a good day.